Hey guys, Wolvie here. It is going to be RWBY Volume 10, Volume 8, Chapter 10, Part 1. And like I said, this is going to be a 4-parter per my video log because there is a lot to dissect here. Now, the first part here is going to be the episode / chapter on an overall scale. Now, basically what this is ultimatum is like, I kind of called it, is that Ironwood is forcing certain hands. And this is not going to end good if I was thinking of this as the overall direction. Meaning that, voila, Ironwood is like, okay, give up Penny or else. Because now we know that Mantle does not matter to Ironwood at all. Now, this is despite the fact that Salem is gone for the time being. We do not know when she's going to come back. I won't be surprised, though, if she comes back at the very end. That's all I have to say on that. And then, a certain scene, it was towards the very end, when Yang reunites with Team RWBY. I have my thoughts on that in the Weiss section of the whole thing. And the reason why I'm leaving that hug, out of this one, because it's, hey, it's good and all, to reunite with your team, just like with Nora. We haven't seen the whole thing with Nora, Jean, and Ren as of yet, because we do know that Nora is still not 100%. And we do know that Penny was, quote-unquote, sleeping still. Now, like I said, I'm gonna try this to make this okay lengthwise, but not too long, not too short either. But that's down that. And then what I was seeing that kind of surprised me, but it kind of reminded me of Volume 1 in a sense, was when Harriet put Winter under the bus, but completely omitted something about Marrow. Because you have to remember, when Winter allowed Yang, Ren, and Jean, to go after Oscar, because you have to remember, if you don't remember that wanted thingamajig, you do know that Oscar was on that list. So it's more like, hey, let's go after him. So, the whole thing with Harriet putting Winter under the bus, but omitting, the fact that her decision was based on what was convinced by Marrow. It's kind of saying that, Harriet is looking out for her own Aesops, but not the person she reported to. Now, we don't know if something of Clover's death from the end of Volume 7 had anything to do with it. So, but the whole thing with Winter, like I said, I'm going to be brief with this part right here. But I think Winter was, in fact, following Weiss's lead in the sense that, if you remember back in Volume 1, Weiss was mentioning, Volume 1, Chapter 15, where it's Weiss mentioned that she saw somebody leave the train with dust. It's Blake put 2 and 2 together. It's they weren't as alone as they thought, but Weiss had let them go. Weiss didn't say anything. Remember that? Now, here in Volume 8, Chapter 10, Winter was doing the same thing with Yang, Jean, and Ren. She had let them go, hey, gotta do what you gotta do. Now, again, the whole thing with the reunion thing at the very end for Team RWBY is that, of course, Winter is doing the same thing. Now, Aesops does not know. No one knows that those 3 are still alive, as is Oscar. Now, if you notice in the whole reunion scene, RWBY was about to give Oscar a hug, but unfortunately, you have to deal with Emerald now. I think that varying things that might be coming canon is more than likely going to be put on hold because of Emerald's presence, and that is 100% legit in my opinion, because it's you could try having a romance now, but it's just you got so much else to deal with. It's probably going to distract you from certain other aspects, more important aspects, and it could cost you dearly in the end. Because after all, part of the intro of the song saying something along the saying goodbye to the things we love. Meaning that you don't want to think about having a relationship when you're trying to stop somebody that can't be killed. Now, with that bit out of the way, the whole thing with mentioning with Salem returning, this does set the stage for Ironwood's death. Now, you're kind of thinking why? Because he is in an extremely vulnerable position. The way he's been acting since Volume 4. Now, remember, in the video log, like, for the other 3 parts, they are not in any order, but fortunately, this is part 1, and the order that I had in the video log could be out of order. I could go after Winter and Crow next, who knows? But the thing is, it's like, overall take is just, of the episode, I mean, the execution at the very end of the chapter is just like, it kind of reminded me of the end of Volume 6. And unfortunately for the writing team, this has got to stop. Because you had such a good overall, like, build up for the volume. It was like plot armor. It's just like the execution of the writing. This is like the one thing that a lot of people have been criticizing the show about for so long. But you still have people who are blindly defending the execution of the writing. And part of that is the inconsistency. Because it's like, we know what happened in the previous volumes. Only for some people to say that it's getting thrown to the side for some other reason. And inconsistent writing, bad execution of writing. This is where you're going to be losing people. And the only way for people to, really want to come back is to get consistent. Execute the writing better. I mean, if you look at early on in this volume, it was really damn good. It's like, you get to see Blake, being apart from Yang, comic relief, all that stuff, and then the end of chapter 10, it's like, are we going back to that? And right now we don't even know if Volume 10 is even confirmed. With you have so many people leaving the show, like, to do other things or to become more of an independent and, like, contractor sort of thing. It's just like, is it like, we don't even know how much longer Rooster Teeth has. Because of certain decisions and actions in recent years. So, to do a bit of a quick recap, what Ironwood is doing now, and you can tell by his behavior since Volume 4, is that it is setting the stage for his death. We are probably going to be seeing it. If it's not Volume 8, it's more than likely Volume 9. The whole thing with Winter, she is following Weiss's lead. The whole reunion scene, I have a section on Weiss in one of the other parts. I'm going to be, wouldn't necessarily say the word nitpicking, but go over varying things from previous volumes, as well as one of the novels, because one of the novels is canon. That sets the stage for another item, and that's not so good in my personal opinion, but we'll get to that when I get there. The whole thing with Emerald, like in a couple of few chapters ago, I called her for turning her back on Salem, and I wasn't expecting to see Hazel, but hey, Hazel kind of stepped up and said, hey, yo, gotta get out of here. And he realized, he's doing what his sister would have done. Tried, but failed. So, with that, I think I may have forgotten about this. I mean, I'm just thinking about it now, but the whole thing with Penny is just like, now that becomes a little bit more interesting, per the conversation between Cinder and Watts. Now, thing is with them, it's just like, I mean, that's a bit of a question mark right there. Now, let's see here. So, with that bit out of the way, I don't think I have much else to say, but I do wish the writing gets a little bit more consistent. I mean, but the bigger question is, what will be happening to Winter? What will be happening to Crow and Robin? Because we do know that there was a scene with them, like, briefly, and I know, like, they very much escaped. Shakshni, you know, we don't even know where he is. Now, regarding Whitley, now, I think Weiss got underestimated by Ironwood because, remember, there's one pivotal scene towards the end of Chapter 10 saying that Ironwood is assuming it was Weiss who ordered those planes, but in reality, he does not know one minor detail. And it's not so a minor detail, but I say it like deliberately in a sense. It was actually Whitley who ordered those planes. Because Weiss is no longer the heiress to the Shnita's company. And that little minor detail is going to be another thing that costs Ironwood dearly. Now, you have a console seat. You have a console seat, you know, that Ironwood has. Then you have not one, but possibly two open console seats. Now, I do feel that later on down the line, I do feel Robin is going to get that console seat. But the question is how? And because unfortunately, you know, you had the whole thing with the election where it was rigged, Shakshni won. But, you know, the whole thing with him, you know, being tied to Watts. And now we know that Ironwood is tied to Watts. So we have here a potential of, we know the guy that Ironwood shot unprovoked at the beginning of Volume 8. So that seat's open. Shakshni's seat becomes open. And in due time, Ironwood's seat becomes open. Three seats become open. And oddly enough, you know, Ironwood set himself up. So, I'm going to be taking a few minutes of break here. I'm going to be done with this video, like, as of right now. With Wolvie here, signing off. I will catch you all on the flip side.